Your book is it opened up a new world, Dr. Raj. I mean, I never thought that this is a subject that I would ever read. This is a subject that I would ever discover. This is a subject that I would ever go into. And thanks to Trisha from Nyogi Books, when we were having the initial discussions, how we landed up to your book and how the name popped up. I was
Yeah.
telling Trisha ki yaar, मैंने कहा यार, I'm frustrated that in Indian publishing ecosystem, you don't have science and research based books. It's a non-existing vertical. It's a non-existent entity. And I am somebody who reads a lot of books, right? So when I used to look at these Western publishers and Western authors, Dr. Raj, and the kind of research that they were doing, and then they were documenting that research and creating a readable product, I'm like, that's genius. In India, all I see are romantic novels about love, about boyfriend and girlfriend. That's the same thing that gets translated into Bollywood and now Tamil cinema as well, and or politics and history and mythology of this god came to me, that god came to me. I have seen that realm. I have seen that, and I'm like, what is this happening? Why are people not researching and writing the book? And then she's like, that's exactly what I wanted to also publish. And then she showed your book. Then she showed me the photographs. And after I read it, Dr. Raj, a new world opened up to me. I had no idea that this world exists.
I'm glad. I'm glad.
It makes you feel very small with your problems. That's what I want to say. It makes you feel so small. And towards the end of the book, which we're going to discuss more in detail, when you describe your first encounter with the white shark, that 20 feet or 18 or 20 feet shark, and you call it an energy. And I was like, there is something deeply philosophical and divine about that experience, right? So we'll come to that part as well. So thank you for writing a book. But Dr. Raj, before I need to ask you something, and please explain it for our viewers, right?
Sure.
So I'm going to read your bio, because a lot of things in the bio I did not understand, because
Yeah,
I'm not familiar.
Even sure if that's updated, by the way, but sure.
Okay. But then you correct me wherever the updations are needed, required, and then please explain,
Yeah.
So you're a human shark researcher and a transdisciplinary scholar, bridging psychology, anthropology, and marine studies, right? So you holding doctorates in both fields. You are currently at Sister Nivedita University, Kolkata, where you are the professor. And you're also been a part of the world's first shark cage diving ethnography in New Zealand. And your publications span marine ethnography, visual sociology, and human animal relations.
Yeah.
Anything else that
very so that's probably in my website. That's why it's updated.
Yeah.
So very simply, I'm just one of those guys who got lucky to be in the beginning stage of the story of human and shark encounters globally. Historically, what has happened whenever has people have written about. Let me take a step back. Okay, so in social scientific research, in anthropology and psychology and all these disciplines, whenever people have written about a human culture, they've primarily written it from the perspective of the human beings, and only considered the human beings as the main individuals who are taking, what we call in science as an agent. It basically means the ability to make changes in their environment. Yeah. So recently I'll say the last 2 decades, anthropologists and sociologists, psychologists, they have argued, no, when you're learning a human culture which involves other animals, you have to consider the lives of those animals and understand them themselves as individuals who are enacting on the environment. So that's the basic premise. That's the premise of more than human research, multi-species research, so on and so forth. A very easy example for that is, so people like us who have cats or dogs in our homes, or especially when we were young, and in the morning, the family mother would always feed the dog first before the children. Yeah. If the dog was sick, then everyone's office and whatever was gone, you have to stay home, take care of the dog. So the basic argument was that their lives and what happens to them and how they behave have so much impact in our lives as another human being. So now, generally, these lives of the animals, interconnected animals, has been considered to be uh, about companion animals, or we call pets, and whatnot. Then also agrarian animals like cows and even chicken, and for these animals, for that matter. The last decade has seen an inclusion of wild animal into this discussion, from tigers to wild boars to wolves all across the planet. Now scientists are saying we have to understand how humans and animals and their lives are connecting and not look at them separately. The social scientists just looking at the humans, while as the biologists just looking at let's say the wolf, right? So this change has happened. Till now, when I started working, there was no proper investigation of this perspective with sharks and human shark relationships or encounters. That is why I found myself to be lucky. I found this virgin territory. There was very little work done. There were a little bit of couple of papers here and there, but primarily it was a virgin territory. And yeah, when I found myself in New Zealand trying to pursue a second doctorate, um, my the initial plan I had gone to achieve there, doing my second doctorate, I planned to work on human elephant relations, but that didn't work. I didn't have any fun. So one day, me and my friend Susan, we went to dive with sharks. I was always obsessed by sharks anyway, and Susan always tells me it was a Tuesday night. It was like 6 months after I had started my second PhD, and we went for the dive, but we didn't see the sharks, and I decided that's what I'm going to do. And that was a decade back, and that's where all this has started from. After this, when I came back to, 5-6 years, I did the entire field work of human and white shark cage diving and understanding from ecological perspective, from social perspective, from financial perspectives. Then when I came to India, I started looking at, thinking, what can I do here? I always had this idea that I heard this term kamot, Kamot. Kamot, my father used to tell me that there's a beast in the Sundarban region, yeah, which cuts people's legs. And no one can even understand when that has happened. So I had this inkling, maybe they're sharks. I wasn't sure. There was nothing written about them at that point. So that was what, 2019. So I went and started my investigation with that, and that was the second part of my expedition, which I actually write in the other book. But yeah, so the transdisciplinary part comes into action here, because the basic methodology of research that I was using in New Zealand, I realized I couldn't use here. And transdisciplinary is, to understand transdisciplinary, you have to understand three parts. First, there is multidisciplinary, then there is interdisciplinary, and then there is transdisciplinary. From what I understand, from the best scientists in the world, we have kind of a consensus here. I might just be wrong, it's always evolving. But from what we understand, interdisciplinary is when different disciplines work together towards a goal, right? But still they are different. So that's multidisciplinary. Now, interdisciplinary is when they combine together and their methodologies combine and they become one unified discipline. That is interdisciplinary. Transdisciplinary is two more elements adds to that. One, it is knowledge for the common good. In this case, common good for the sharks and the people. And you involve the other stakeholders, as in the other individuals, be it sharks, be it the people, let's say the fisher people at Sundarban or the cage divers at New Zealand. You involve their knowledge into the discussion. That is when it becomes transdisciplinary. So yeah, that's where I'm at. And from 2021, I've been teaching at Sri Nivedita University, Kolkata, as a professor of psychology, and keeping on my research.
You have talked a lot about Jaws in the book, right? And rightly so. I was someone who, I know swimming, Dr. Raj. I'm a fairly good swimmer, but always have a fear of water. Why do I have a fear of water? Is because I've seen in movies that even if you are going on a boat ride in an ocean, in a lake, suddenly out of nowhere, this creature's gonna come up with its jaws all wide open and its teeth, a monster, a sea monster, a predator, and that's going to eat you up. So I've always had that fear, even though I haven't encountered anything, right? So I do want to touch about that aspect, but before that, and I think that's the reason why in my mind I equate sharks with the dinosaurs. Though dinosaurs are extinct entity, I'm not sure how they look like, because even in the current ecosystem where people are debating on the existence of dinosaurs, there are questions of how they are portrayed and how they used to look. They still don't know whether that's exactly how they used to look, the way we have been portrayed in the movies like Jurassic Park, right? So I've always seen sharks as predators, as the enemies of humanity. And the way our civilization and the survival mechanism is built as humans is to not give a damn about your enemies, and or if you do encounter them, then you only encountered them to kill them or eliminate. So with this sociological and physiological and psychological aspects surrounding sharks, I want to understand what made you interested in them in the first place. You were saying that I always had a fascination with sharks. Tell us about the genesis of that. I am so sorry for the sudden interruption. ये हमें करना पड़ता है और हमको इसी प्रकार से इंटरप्ट करना पड़ता है. But I have a request कि guys, अगर आपको थोड़ी भी वैल्यू लग रही है in what we are providing with our podcast, in the kind of content that we are creating, and in the kind of people that we are bringing on our show, please subscribe to our channel. This is the only way in which any podcast on YouTube can grow. It will cost you nothing. आपने सिर्फ सब्सक्राइब करना है, and trust me guys, if you subscribe to this podcast, we'll make sure that we continue delivering you such amazing कंटेंट, इंटेलिजेंट कंटेंट. हम एक इंटेलिजेंट पॉडकास्ट क्रिएट करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. दैट इज वाई हमारे जितने भी गेस्ट होते हैं वो सारे पब्लिश ऑथर्स होते हैं जिनका वर्क के देयर इज अ बैकिंग टू देयर वर्क. कोई भी कुछ ऐसे नहीं बोल रहा. सो गाइस, प्लीज सब्सक्राइब टू आवर चैनल and continue enjoying and listening to this episode.
Okay, so let me tell you the truth, which I've probably admitted quite a few times before, that I am petrified of sharks.
Yeah, you've written the book as well.
Yeah. I'm absolutely scared of them. I've been in front of, like I said, 18, 20 feet sharks, and I've swam very closely with them, but I'm still very scared of them. I'm not really, but at the same time, I'm going to contradict my own term, which I said right now. I'm really not really afraid of sharks. I'm afraid of the image of sharks. Because when I see the sharks in front of me, it's a different experience. But when I think about them, that's a different experience altogether. The interesting things about sharks is, again, what I write in my book. Right now, the image of sharks that we have is what we call a hyperreal image. Hyperreal image means the image of the shark has very little to do with the actual fish. The image is much grander than the actual fish. And the fear of sharks is, most divers, they'll tell you the only time they're afraid during diving is when they're on the surface of the water, not when they're inside the water. Because when they're on the surface, you feel what is below me. That invariably goes on in your brain. So sharks are the symbolism of the unknown. They're the symbolism of the darkness, what is down there at the very depth of the unknown. And there are also other biological parts. If we consider sharks just, again, like I write in the book, that whenever we are speaking of a shark image, we're possibly speaking just about the white sharks, and we consider the white shark as being the poster child of all sharks, and the image of white sharks being the image of most sharks, unfortunately. And white sharks have triangular tooth, and there is evolutionary reasoning to believe that indeed we are afraid of triangles, from some evolutionary reason. Sharks also, especially white, sharks don't make any sound, so very silent. They're silent killers. There are so many other factors, but I'll also tell you, any shark, as a matter of fact, any animal, can hurt you. Yeah? A dog can hurt you. A big sized cat can hurt you. Yeah. So, let alone when you are in the water, when your ability is so limited, a big fish, if they want to, can really injure you, even if you're not prey. Now, most sharks don't consider us to be their prey. There is no evidence as of now that there are any man-eating sharks. When we say man-eating sharks, that specifically, sharks identified men and went towards men to, hunt them. Obviously, the scenario is different, but there are no evidence like that. Although historically, we have many incidents of, human shark encounters and conflict for that matter. But shark resemble that unknown. Sharks are still animals who can, eat us alive. And please don't have any. I want to clear this idea right now. First and foremost, sharks are not monsters. They're predators and they're big animals, and we should be afraid of any wild predators. We should absolutely be, especially because we are not of that environment. However, like I said, they're not monsters. But keep in mind, a big shark is not your pet. There are now videos, especially from the US, where people dive with sharks and big sharks, and I mean, on social media, I'm seeing this interesting trend when they are trying to explain, oh, sharks are like dogs, they do nothing. That is not true. Don't play around with a shark. They are big predators. And I'll just tell you, there was this small little shark, I think about 6 feet, and our boat was, 30 feet large or something like that. And this 6 feet shark bumped on our boat and our entire boat, boom. So their strength we can't imagine. But at the end of the day, they're still sufferer of their own image. And yeah, primarily from Jaws. After Jaws, we have evidence like in the last 20 years, there is more than 70 to 80% decrease in large sharks in the planetary waters. Everywhere, especially large predatory sharks, they're gone. We have destroyed them.
And when you say we, you mean the humanity. So there has been human intervention because of which the sharks
Yeah,
have declined in number.
What we call this the Anthropocene.
Yeah.
Means
Human created.
yeah, and so we are at the epoch of where human beings have become an agent of change in the global environment. So unfortunately, that is a direct effect of that.
Is this because the humans have that mentality, specifically with respect to animals, that A, let them live if either they are your stock of eating or they can be used for your transportation or any other purpose. And the ones you can't tame, and the ones you can't use, and the ones you can't exploit and are of no use to humanity, either let
So
them die naturally or
so
kill them.
so there are a few things here, and you do realize these discourses are evolving. Tomorrow I might have a different thought about this. Just taking a caveat there. But from what I understand right now, the genesis of this thought started from the Genesis. What do I mean by that? A lot of the history of these kind of thinkings were actually Judeo-Christian, where in the Genesis, yeah, God created man, yeah, and God created woman also from the ribcage of a man, okay? And then he created all the beast and everything for the man. So the man has dominance, over everything. Yeah. Now think of this from the perspective of the white man. Yeah. Because the white man, as we call it in anthropology, yeah. So they went out then, through the imperialist power, yeah, and spreading the light to the rest of the world. There was something called craniometry, yeah, in psychology. So craniometry is basically you look at the size of the cranium, and by the way, this has been disproved. But many years back, there was craniometry. By the size of the cranium, you argue that the brain size is smaller. Yeah. Oh, I mean, this is the brain size. So Psychologists, even anthropologists, at one point used to claim, since the brain size of the white man is larger than that of the African, that means the white man is more evolved. So the black man, their evolution has not finished, and their final evolution would be at the very, very end, which is a white man. Yeah. Same thing. If you look at Australia, yeah, for a long, long time, till like I think last 3 decades or something like that, 3, 4 decades, the Aborigines of the region were considered to fall under the Flora and Fauna Act. So they were considered to be animals. Yeah. So these individuals who have smaller brains, they have not evolved, and these other people who are still animals. And based on the God created everything for us, for the white man, all of them we have dominance over, including the women. Yeah. So when when the world revolted against imperialist power, women movement started coming up, then all these started being challenged. But by that time, man's dominance over the nature was so over encompassing. A lot of things were dead by that. We had finished.
So beautifully said. And I think when you were saying this, right, it reminded me of growing up. Our dadis and nanis and dada used to say कि ये गाय नहीं माता है, ये नदी नहीं विद्या है, सरस्वती है. So you have that Abrahamic belt, and then you have the dharmic belt, right? So you have explained the Abrahamic ecosystem of evolution and how things could be used for your own purpose. And when they used to eat, they used to pray ki thank you for the food that you have given us, because chickens are to be eaten by humans. It's given by you to us so that we can eat them, right? And if you look at the dharmic ecosystem, which obviously we're losing right now, we used to revere these animals as gods and goddesses and family members.
Yeah, but I think that's a little bit of oversimplification, because there was particular sects of particular religions who used to believe that. Not every sect, not every religion. Yeah, so you cannot say maybe particular sects of Hindu practitioners, particular points. However, yeah, when we used to see, the point is that all of it is an ecosystem. How we treat other animals is equal to how we treat other people. Yeah, so love transcends species at the end of the day. And also especially how women were treated. So all that, unfortunately, it combines together. And so when we say religious people were nice to animals, they were torturing women at that time.
Yeah.
So I don't want to get into any religious.
Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
like
So the integrality of the philosophy was not visible.
Yeah,
it was in parts and pieces, but it was not integral.
That, absolutely.
Dr. Raj, there is this now. Why I'm asking these questions, because I want to establish a very strong foundation, a philosophical foundation, because after reading a book, I realized there is a very strong philosophical foundation to all what we are discussing.
What do you think this book is about, my friend?
This book is about a person's own discovery. First of all, you discovered something. You found something exceptional. And then people are also like I remember when I was looking at when I was reading the stories, when I was reading the book, the way you were describing when you were in the oceans, or when you saw that shark for the first time, the people who helped you in all the journeys, it was as if I was there. The way you have written the book, it's as if I was discovering them.
Okay, so I'll tell you something. I'll tell you a short story, like a 1-minute story. I was driving to my college. This was a couple of years back, yeah. And I suddenly got a call from an unknown number. Okay, fair enough. I just picked it up, fine. There was this young woman at the other end of the phone call. She said, "Is this Professor Raj Sekhar Aich?" And I said, "Yes, may I speak with you, sir?" "Sure." She said, "Sir, I'm calling from Bihar. So, okay, how can I help you? She said, sir, I just read your book and it really helped. And I just want to ask you, I'm wondering right now, should I go into research or should I go into, I want to be an IPS officer, something like that, she said. Um, and I spoke to a couple of minutes and I said, yeah, maybe research is not the best situation for your goal right now. Maybe those kind of things will suit you the best. I just gave her the advice and she said, thank you so much. And before she's leaving, said, it's especially important to me because I'm blind. So, you're blind, how did you read the books? She said, I didn't. My sister read it to me. And it gave me so much inspiration. I asked her to find your number, and that's why I called you. And at the end of the day, any vibrant, artistic, scientific creation is about one and only one thing, that is sharing inspiration. I was inspired to do my own journey by people before me, and it's my job to inspire people to come after me. Obviously, there is the scientific part, and obviously there are those parts, but that's the primary thing, and probably more than anything else, I think it's a love story.
Yeah.
It's a love story about
Yeah.
sharks. It's a love story about people. It's a love story about our land, our soil, our water, people who have left us, people who are still there, and those animals who are beyond our imagination. And that's what I feel at the end it's all about.
But you're right. And but what I feel, right, people can get inspired for different reasons and things, what resonates with them.
Sure.
So I'll tell you what happened when I read your book, and this is a precursor to the question that I'm going to ask you. When I was reading a book, I came across this term, what you call multi-species ethnography,
Yes.
and something called a posthumanism.
Yes.
And I'm like, what the hell is this? I know about the concept of singularity that the tech companies are trying to push us into. We were talking on phone, right, about what the tech companies' vision is. They are pushing towards an ideology of singularity, wherein humans and machines merge and become a singular entity. Because Mark Zuckerberg, Sam Altman, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, Musk, they have read a book by Ray Kurzweil called Singularity is Nearer and Singularity is Near. They are the pop cultures, this is their pop culture. They have taken inspiration from Star Wars. They have taken inspiration for, I'm forgetting the name of the very famous Foundation ka writer jo tha, Isaac Asimov.
Isaac Asimov.
Yeah, Asimov and all these people, right? So they are moving towards that. So when I read about ME and what you call posthumanism, and this is the quote that I have taken from the book, ME is more than a more than human approach to ethnographic research and writing, and draws attention to humanness as an impure, synthetic cultural category. And there's a lot of reference to ME, and then I was like, what is posthumanism? And I tried to search posthumanism, and it humbled me, Dr. Raj.
Yeah, it humbles me even now, every day. So I'm still trying to read. I don't know enough. But so do you want me to very briefly?
Yes, because after knowing this, if we approach sharks, it will make sense. We are not approaching it an object, but a living entity. That's what we want, right? So let's understand that foundation.
Yeah, so very, very briefly, ME is basically what I started the discussion with. Like when in ethnography. So ethnography is a methodology. It's not a method, it's a methodology. For my students who would listen to this, we understand the difference between, I'm sorry, I'm getting technical a bit.
That's absolutely fine.
So it's important to understand the difference between methods and methodology. Methodology is the overall theoretical foundation of a discussion, of a research, and methods are specific strategies that you use to collect, analyze, and present data. Yeah. So ethnography is a methodology, which basically ethnos, human beings, graphy, writing. So classically, when anthropologists went out in different cultures, they wrote about human beings. That's where ethnography comes from. Now, like I said at the very beginning, usually they used to write just about human beings whenever they were writing about any cultures where there were other animals. So multi-species, which is ME, multi-species ethnography, is involving the voices of the animal others while doing this. So when we're doing cage diving, yeah, it is as much you could be out. When I initially went, I was out in the sea for 6 months, every day. There were no sharks. So doesn't matter how much I try, if the sharks didn't choose to turn up, they were not there. So the willingness of the shark to integrate with me, to interact with me, is as much important as mine's to interact with them. Only then can a successful encounter happen. Yeah. So that is why we need to understand the willingness and the ability of the shark as much as the willingness and the ability of the human. That is multi-species ethnography in case of, let's say, cage diving. However, that's where things turn tricky, because when I alluded to the Sundarban thing, right? That I was thinking, okay, I'm going to use the same methodology when I come to India and do the same thing with Sundarban sharks. Very good. The problem there is, when you are in New Zealand waters, in Australian waters, in American waters, most of the cases you can see a shark. Yeah. Like we sometimes have 20 meters visibility. Yeah. Underwater. So it's very clear. So if the shark is moving, you can see them. And you can understand the interaction that's happening. I'm just speaking about the physical. I'm not even speaking about the philosophical part. Just the physical interaction, you can see them. When you are in Sundarban, a shark is 30 or 60 inches away from you, you won't be able to see it because of the quality of the water. The shark is only felt, not seen. And the human-shark encounter is only understood when either the people predate on the sharks or the sharks predate on the people. So that's why when I came to India and started doing the Sundarban thing, everything, I was like, what the hell am I going to do now? So I had to create the transdisciplinary part then. But yeah, basically the gist is bringing the other animals, more than human approaches. As much as we are in the Anthropocene, where human beings are affecting the world, it is important to understand how other animals, not just animals, be it microbes, be it fungi, how are they affecting the world that we are also living in. That is the way of understanding. So, when people ask me, so what's your discipline? I don't have any discipline, by the way. I just have topics of investigation. And I bring in psychology, anthropology, sociology, ecology, everything together to get an answer to the question I'm looking at.
So from a human's perspective, it might seem like we are the ones in control and trying to objectify any entity in order to study, not realizing that if you flip the story and try to see from their perspective, the same thing might be happening in their ecosystem. They might be looking at us like an object and deciding whether they want to interact with us or not.
Same thing where, if you think about conservation, the same thing, especially marine conservation. That's why, quite a few scientists raise problem with the contemporary way of looking at marine conservation. Marine conservation right now, or let's say sustainable living, sustainable fishing and all those things, looked at, you fish in an area in such a way that you can keep on doing it. So the ecosystem gets time to develop. The question many scientists are saying, so we are looking at the marine world, we are looking at the marine animals, thinking that it is Amara Jagirtari, we're saving it just because it's for us. The animal themselves has right to live. So we should conserve for the fact that the animal themselves, should have that agency to live in the water. their life is not just for us.
Beautiful.
So that's another important way of looking at conservation, sustainability right now.
Beautiful. What a beautiful perspective. And I think this is the existing perspective. This is the existing perspective. This is how it is.
Hopefully.
It's just that we don't know that this is what they are also thinking, like the way we are. It's absolutely.
Hopefully.
You know.
So I'll just add something.
Yes.
There is something called this American scientist, I'm forgetting his name. He gave this interesting theory. There's something called shared lineage. Yeah, shared lineage. So it's basically for the ocean. Basically, what it means that all the countries in the world have shared lineage of the ocean. So not just America, not just Europe gets to reap the benefits of the ocean. So now this scientist is saying, what about the animals? They have shared lineage of the ocean too. They have right to reap the benefits of the ocean too. So yeah, that's where things get tricky.
No, yeah. You know, another thing now, let's come to the sharks. And I'll tell you what I found absolutely fascinating, and I want your help to just explain this ecosystem.
I'll show you something about sharks.
Oh, please. Yeah, let's do that.
This is my most prized possession. This is a megalodon tooth.
This is an actual shark tooth, right?
Not just shark tooth. This is a megalodon tooth, the largest predatory shark that ever lived. And yeah,
look at that.
Yep. And knowing that megalodons went extinct at least 4 million years.
Oh my God.
Back. So this is at least 4 million years old.
How did you get your hands on this?
In New Zealand, yeah.
Incredible. Yeah. So, this brings me, Dr. Raj. Now let's focus a bit on the biology, on the physiology, and also on the nature of sharks.
Okay, I'm not an expert in biology of shark. I always claim that. But
let's talk about the visual. Let's also talk about the visual representation, because you are somebody who has had close encounters. And if you want to take the example of white shark specifically, we can do that. Let's take the example of white shark as a reference point, and let's try to understand this entity or creature.
Do you know where this name, that I write in the book? It's like a spirit. Yeah, it's like an energy. It moves. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this funny story.
Yeah, let's do that.
So in all the years I was in the ocean, I met one Indian, and so his name was Sunny. So Sunny was from Delhi, I think. Then Sunny moved to Auckland. He was living there, and he had come to do that. And Sunny, dear chap, was so afraid. And so he was in the boat, but he was not sure whether he'll get in the water. I held his hand. Sunny, yaar, tu Indian hai. What will people say? The only Indian I meet is not afraid to go in. And he go in, I'll support you. It'll be fine. So Sunny, okay. So I literally held his hand. He went in, and after he seeing that, then he comes. It's like a spirit. It's like an energy. I said, exactly. There you go. I actually got that from him.
So let's talk about the white shark now. Let's talk about whatever you can explain and describe about this creature. What all do we know about them? What all do we not know about them? Is there more to be known about them, to research about them? Are they still mythical? Are they still unapproachable? I want to know everything.
Again, I'm by no means a shark biologist. Disclaimer: if I have anything wrong, my fellow shark biologists and ecologists, please forgive me for this. I'll just share whatever I can. First and foremost, white sharks are the largest predatory sharks that we have right now. It's one thing looking at the sharks on the TV, but to see them. A good sized white shark, 18-20 foot shark, the thickness of the shark would be as thick as this couch, just the thickness. Yeah. So, and when they go underwater, they look like a jet plane going below you. That's exactly, or a submarine. Yeah. Historically, there is also stories of a shark in South Africa that they call submarine. Anyway, so but that's how it looks like. when I used to sometimes do um, shark wrangling. When shark wrangling is basically you put the bait, yeah, and you the tuna head in the water and try to bring the shark closer to the cage so people could in the cage could actually see them. To see that energy of an animal, yeah, it's like a jet plane coming towards you in the water, and you have control over the body of the huge shark with the movement of your body. A little bit of movement in my hip moves the string, the rope that holds the bait, the body of the shark moves. It's unbelievable. And when you see them, I mean, there are a couple of times when big sharks, white sharks, can look underwater and also above water. So sometimes they'll put their head, above water and check you out. Like, okay, and you feel such an inferiority complex. Right? They have nothing to fear you from. They don't, but they're shy. A big white shark, a 15-foot white shark. And by the way, the reason they're called white sharks, there's a little bit of debate about it. The best one I've gotten as of now is when fishers used to catch them and they put them on the boat because the belly is white. The upper body is actually sometimes gray or greenish gray, even golden for that matter. So that's why they used to call white sharks. And of course, they have all through their life they get about 3,000 pairs of teeth. Yeah, they have so their teeth are actually like in rows. So one layer of teeth grows and they use it up, then it falls down, then the other layer of teeth grows. So it always keeps on growing. That's why these billions of years of evolution. So if a lion loses his tooth, that's it. Your hunting days are gone. The white shark doesn't matter, or sharks, most sharks, it doesn't matter because the teeth constantly keeps on growing. Yeah, and as a matter of fact, their skin is also made out of very fine kind of tooth. We call it dermal denticles. So that's why. So the teeth are like this over the body. If this is the face of the shark, the teeth are like this. So when they're moving in the water, yeah. So I mean, if a shark is like this is the face. If you move your hand from the face to the tail, it'll be smooth. But if you move it the other way, you are going to get cut. As a matter of fact, shark skin has been used historically also for sandpaper in different civilizations. So that's why they're extremely hydrodynamic. Yeah, a lot of planes now actually use the technology of shark skin to make them aerodynamic, and even swimmers use to make the swimsuit hydrodynamic. So the thing I will, and then there's a lot of different biological thing. I don't want to waste a lot of time because all of that is present on the internet. Everyone can look at that. The only thing I'll say is we knew. I mean, when I started doing my research, there were only at that time there were only 7 pieces of scientific literature written about white sharks on New Zealand. 7 when I started. So hardly anything was known. Obviously the numbers increased over the years, but at that time nothing was there. I was lucky to meet a lot of significant scientists in the region, like Clinton Duffy and my guru, Professor Steve Crawford from University of Guelph. He has taught me so much, and he was among the first people in that region to write about human-shark relationships in that region. But beside those things, very little things were done at that point. So I was just lucky to be at the right place at the right time. The one thing Steve always told me, see, this is where gurus change you, don't they? Steve always used to call me, he still calls me Raji and not Raj. He calls me Raji, what's up? So Raji, be a skeptic, not a cynic. What does that mean? That means if you're given an evidence, then believe it. Don't be like, oh, even if I'm given an evidence, I'm not going to change my mind. So the most interesting thing that Steve started arguing, at least his data was showing, that sharks, like white sharks, can have social relationships, which is new because most scientists believe that white sharks don't have social relationship. But even I saw some form of sociality happening. Even Steve's data is showing some form of sociality happening, and they're not just the mindless single entities that we think they are. I think that is the most important part that we have to take. They are not mindless creatures. They're enormously strength. Their strength is a human being cannot imagine that strength. It is as stronger, as a bus going over you. Yeah, and they could potentially be social animals.
But even lions and tigers, which we bracket as predatory in terms of they are known to attack. They are also social animals.
So the difference is
Hmm.
the important question. The difference is they're mammals, and we know mammals have social relationships, but they are fish.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of debate whether fish can create social relationships. Although again, recent data is constantly showing there are a lot of fish, including some species of sharks, who seeming to have social relation. But those large fish like white sharks, there's still debates. But we are seeing some evidence to kind of believe that again, it's all up in the air.
Dr. Raj, now I want to discuss with you your entire experience of cage diving. First, start with that, the project that you were a part of in the New Zealand. What is cage diving? The things which are involved in the cage diving. Some of this, because your book is full of a lot of stories of cages wherein the sharks did penetrate. I saw a lot of videos, I saw a lot of documentaries because I wanted to visualize, because the photographs in your book are so, these are all the photos that you have clicked, majority or all of them?
99%. Yes.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean some of the
There are
photographs of,
there's some that Susan, my friend, has taken.
yeah,
Yeah, I think just a couple of.
it's brilliant.
Oh, there's some that 2 or 3 that tourists have taken, but 99% mine. Yeah.
Yeah, they were just amazing. I mean, in a very, your photographs, wherever you have taken photographs of shark, of a white shark, combined with your narration, strangely humanizes them. It did.
Yeah, I mean,
It humanizes them, and it
Yeah,
was a
I'll tell you
combination of your writing and the visual representation. I don't know why.
yeah, I'll tell you the funny thing about photographs itself is like, see, when I was doing this, I didn't have any money. Yeah,
Yeah.
most of the money, I earned a bit there. Susan was always helping me out, and I just literally had like a broken old what do you call it, GoPro at that time, and like there was one hinge broken and stuff like that. And sometimes I didn't have like even extenders where you put the GoPro in and put it in the waters. I used to use brooms. Sometimes when the GoPro is broken, I had hair, what do you call it, hair girders, and I used to take them and just put them around the GoPros and stuff like that. Everything was a shoestring budget. It was when I did this last field work of that book. I just had money to buy some dal and chawal. Yeah, so I just used to make khichdi twice a week, and I would have one meal a day. And at the end, when I come back from the ocean, and I lost 11 kgs in 1.5 months because I didn't have the money. And of course, Susan was helping me out, but yeah, I didn't have the money. So it was literally just the point is, many friends ask me even now, how did you do that? How did you stay there? My mind is built different. When I do something like that, when people say, I'll do it or I'll die, I actually think that. I literally think, because not finishing what I start is never an option for me. It's just my brain doesn't work that way. Like people ask me, because you're so afraid of ghosts. I am a really scaredy cat, by the way. So when I used to stay in old buildings and cottages, weren't you afraid of ghosts? And they said, of course I was. I was petrified. I couldn't sleep most of the night. Then why didn't you come back? Because I didn't even know coming back was an option. I'm in an expedition. How many people get to do that? Coming back is never an option. Yeah, so I look at my life as a blessing. Anything I got to do, first and foremost, we have to understand self-made man, self-made woman is a misnomer. Yeah, it's nothing like that. Just an Americanized, hyper-capitalist perspective. There's nothing as self-made. We stand on shoulders of giants, be it other scientists, be it the people who love us, be it our friends, our family. Without them, nothing would happen. And knowing that their love is behind you, how dare you quit? Yeah, so it's never an option. So any photograph I took, anything I did was absolutely a shoestring. Yeah, and a lot of them, I was dumb enough to get in the water and take those photographs, sometimes without the cage, and that wasn't very smart of me. Um, yeah, so but however, I also believe, because the book was written from such a personal language, and like I said, probably from a deep, deep love. That's why maybe how it shaped that. Yeah. And yeah,
You also had to sell your Triumph, right?
oh yeah, yeah. My
That broke
Triumph,
my heart when I read that. I'm like,
yeah,
damn.
my Triumph Rocket 3. Yeah, yeah,
Otherwise,
absolutely.
that would have been great to ride that bike
Yeah,
in
I
those.
wanted to ride that back to India. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's what I'm saying.
yeah, um, yeah, that just broke me.
Yeah.
You know what can you
No, I understand. But then, okay, we'll come to that part. So, Dr. Raj, again, now please tell us a little bit about the concept of cage diving.
do? Right. Okay.
And I also want to know who are these certified people who can do this cage diving?
Right.
What do they do it for, as well, for those who are completely unaware? What are the risks which are involved? What are the things that you have to keep in your mind? As I was saying, because I've seen videos, because in your book you mentioned that in 2016 an image of a shark or something went viral, and then you also say that this is not what happened, it was a doctored or a morphed image. But then
Yeah.
it led me to a lot of videos of
Yeah.
sharks breaking into the cages, but they were
So
so god authentic.
no, there are two incidents that happened.
Okay,
Okay.
so let's talk about this entire cage diving ecosystem and some of the stories or incidents.
So cage diving is the process. By the way, whenever we're saying cage diving, we basically mean white shark cage diving,
Yeah.
because they are considered to be such a serious species that it's advisable to be diving with sharks, and I absolutely agree with that. Other sharks, like I have a friend Blake. Blake regularly dives with he's Australian. He dives with tiger sharks without cage. He's doing very good. My friend Mark is one of those few people on the planet who can actually dive with white sharks without a cage. And I don't recommend normal people. It's not something you do. It's even Clinton Duffy is the top shark scientist. I remember Clinton said, once I did it, that was enough in the cage. So yeah. So what is cage diving? Essentially, when you get in the cage and you look at big white sharks around you. Yeah. There are 5 to 6 places on the planet that you can do. It's in New Zealand and Australia. I think right now, I'm not sure, in Mexico they used to have one. I'm not sure if they've closed it. They had closed it. I'm not sure they've opened it, but a new one has opened uh, in Nova Scotia. Yeah. And also then there's the US. So these are the places where you can do cage diving. It's very strictly regulated, rightfully so, because people are afraid that sharks will associate cage diving and people with food. So it has to be very highly regulated, and there's always debate about cage diving, increasing risk of people being attacked. There's no evidence as of now to prove that, but people will argue otherwise either way. Generally, there are 3 kinds of ways of attracting a shark. One is through baiting. Then some places where they allow to use uh, decoys of seals. Literally, they make a decoy and the boat goes and the shark comes after the decoy. And then they sound. White sharks like rock music. So the point is not the rock music, it's the beats that's in the water, and they're attracted to that sound. So in New Zealand, you're just allowed to do baiting and chumming. So what is chumming? Chumming is basically they use high fatty tuna and they mash it up, put it in the water, and then the chum creates a sleek of oil in the water and it goes out. And for the sharks to come in, there are very select places, like in New Zealand, it's around these groups of islands, Matanui Islands, and one particular island called Edwards Island, around which this is allowed. And so after they mash the tuna and the sleek goes out and the shark comes attracted to the to the smell. And after the sharks are around the cage, that's when you put the tuna head in the water and you have a shark wrangler. So the sharks could be around the cage, but you may not be able to see the sharks, because they're so well camouflaged. So once people get in the cage, it's now the duty of the shark wrangler to use the head of the tuna to bring the shark as close as possible to the cage so that people can actually see them. Now, this is where things get tricky. Every shark is different. The younger one, like human babies, yeah, are very excited and they're always going after stuff. They're always excited. The older ones are much more serious, much more reserved. They have seen a lot of stuff, especially the women. They are always cautious, whereas the young fellows, behind women will always go after, making sure that everything's okay. Then the woman would come, especially the bigger. And in sharks, the females are bigger. Yeah. Much substantially bigger. That's how it happens. And the objective of cage diving is for you to get in the water and see a shark. Seeing a shark on TV, like I said, seeing a shark, a white shark underwater, it's an entirely different experience. You're silent, there's no sound. You're just in the water. And it's rarity, but when the shark does look at you, there'll be incidents when the shark does come close to the cage, put their eyes on the cage and look back at you. And it's a connection with a being which is much bigger and much older to us. Yeah, that is why it's a bucket list for many divers. I know for a fact many divers who have traveled over continents just for 10 minutes to be in the water with sharks, with white sharks. It's a very special thing. Yeah.
There is this chapter in your book, which actually just, the chapter's name is A Meeting After 100 million years of waiting. Dr. Raj, please narrate this incident. That's what I'm saying. I was like, wow. I wanted you to narrate this. Please narrate your experience. This was mind-boggling.
I mean, do you want me to actually narrate from the?
You can either read and narrate, or you can just say it.
Honestly, I've forgotten what I've written. Yeah. So, meeting.
This is when you actually saw that 18-foot shark. Yeah. It was beautiful. It was just incredible. From you first noticing it and then, encountering, and then after that was divine.
I got it. Oh yeah. I'll just read this part.
Yeah.
Journal entry. One day, 4:50 p.m. I'm suspended here. I'm just here, suspended in the liminality of dreams and awakening, abyss and light. I bob up and down in frigid waters, cocooned in a cage 1,600 kilometers from Antarctica. Scuba means self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. Indeed, it cages you in your own sensations and illusions, especially if you're truly trapped in a 12 by 5 feet cage alone. A cage attached to the back of our boat, the Southern Isles, and submerged in the water where the Tasman Sea and the Southern Oceans meet, with just the top hatch reaching from the blushing sun. Your thoughts and imaginations starts to give rise to images and shadows of malevolent monsters looking for you amid the crimson darkness, awaiting to pounce at any moment. Even if you're just 5 feet away from the surface and the other humans on the boat, you're isolated from the rest of the unfamiliar universe. All you can perceive are the ethereal images created from your own demons and fantasies intertwined in what is there 30 feet in front and below you, and things that lay unseen beyond. These images play hide and seek with the throbbing streaks of the light penetrating the turquoise blue. As depth increases, light decreases, So does colors and contours, and only gray, green, black, and silver forms seems to be created and dispersed at the ocean floor from here. As my sinuses begin to hurt, I remember the friends whose kindness got me here. Right now, I look at my wrist dive computer. I have been underwater for 40 minutes. 11.3 degrees Celsius water, just standing and waiting. My 5 millimeter neoprene suit is no longer keeping me warm. Like shards of glass, the drops capture my newfound air pockets every once in a while. I clear the water out of my mask and with forced air from my nose and bite hard onto my regulator. I feel the sharp edge of the aluminium cage through my suit, crouch down to get my balance and control my buoyancy with my breathing. We've heard of her presence a few weeks ago, a mature female great white shark. She has been spotted in the region by fishermen, but we have not seen her. I look up at the ocean surface and decomposing tuna head tied to a rope, shivering with water, hoping to entice her. Suddenly, all the fish disappear. There's no thing living in front of me. I'm left with the sound of my own intermittent bubbles, my weight belt banging on the back of the cage in a rhythmic drum. Bum, bum, and the crackling and twisting of the nuts and bolts fighting with the currents, trying to keep the cage attached to the boat. Her absence frightens me. As my heart rate begins to rise, I look for her through the three windows of the cage. Behind me, I can see the large propellers of the moss dancing in the hull. I look below the cage suddenly. The ocean floor seems darker for a moment. Then again, there's nothing. I wait. I wait. I know my time is almost up, as today there's a storm forecast. Then suddenly, through my peripheral vision, I see someone is watching me. I turn and see a pair of deep blue eyes larger than tennis balls looking back at me. For a moment, everything is quiet. No bubbles, no rattling of the cage, as if my heart has stopped. As has the waves, two sentient beings look at each other as an 18-foot great white shark passes 8 inches in front of my cage. We are connected with the movement of the waves, her eyes focused on me, but I don't know what she's thinking. I bang on the cage to attract her attention. She turns back and comes towards me, and now it's suspended in front of me. Our eyes locked, and sensations come flooding back. My entire being starts to give in. She slowly touches the cage, and the cage trembles. I felt smaller sharks rattle our boat with one bump, so her approach is gentle indeed. She's not a monster. She is energy incarnate. She has nothing to prove, and this is her way of interacting with and understanding her environment. And invariably she communicates with me, with her body, not sure if it's intentional or not. What is certain that she is as inquisitive about me as I'm about her, but maybe for different reasons. She knows I'm here. Her senses tell me there is a beating heart, but maybe in a metal exoskeleton. Unlike most sharks, she does not bite the cage. Maybe she had experience with the cage before. Maybe it's the fact that, unlike what most people think, white sharks are quite picky eaters and does not have the element, or maybe she does not have the element of surprise which she uses to hunt. Or maybe she's not just hungry, or it is none of the above, and we have no ideas at what culmination of factors they are. As she gazes against the cage, I see an intense claustrophobic dark, never-ending abyss inside her mouth, and her mystical white triangular serrated teeth bejeweling the entrance. Transfix, I look at each inch of her body pass before me and then below the cage. This close, I realized truly how big 18 foot is, as the blank blue canvas does not have a point of reference. Her girth is as about 5 feet, more than half the size of the cage, and I see her dark brown skin pass beneath me. It seems like waiting for a freight train to pass. I look at her iridescent skin, made of million small teeth, as she glimmers in the sparkles of the light, reflected from my metal cage. Her body carved out of blood, out of bold and broad brush strokes, from her cone-shaped snout to a 4 feet tall dorsal fin and never-ending tail. She appears to be molded out of porcelain, but forged out of steel, and each fiber of muscle contracting and relaxing visibly through the skin. There is no lack of perfection. Art design crafted over at least 100 million years, only intense reality, a reality which does not even allow suspension of disbelief for this poor Indian anthropologist, as he reminds himself, this is not a dream. This is not a dream. Take it all in. Don't think, just take it all in. If I'm cursed to perceive the universe for only the reasoning of my perception, I would like to imagine the meeting with her is predestined from all those billion years ago. All of a sudden, at what whim she looks forward, she looks towards the open ocean, flicks her immense tail, the force of which jolts my cage, and I fall back. When I look up, she's gone. There's no promise of aggression, neither forgiveness, only at this moment, indifferent. As I keep on bobbing and my weight belt keeps on banging on the cage, I've been underwater for 56 minutes now. I know hypothermia will set in soon. So will the storm. I have to go now.
Beautiful. It was, I mean, for me, this was the best moment in the book. The way you described it, the way you narrated, Dr. Raj, must have been an encounter that will be with you forever, right? Something that it's etched in your entire being.
Yeah, it's in my entire being, yeah.
Do you crave for it again?
Oh,
do
yeah.
you,
Yeah. That's all I think about, yeah.
do you have plans to?
I have, but see, it was important for me at one point to realize that that's my life. If I've been lucky to have the journey so far, if my luck, you know, shines again, then I would like to, as long as I have, still strength on my legs, still strong arms, I would like to have these experiences. That's the definition of my life, and contribute as much as I can to the planet, to my discipline. Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Raj, I'd like to conclude with one final question.
Sure.
In your entire experience of researching on sharks and all the adventures and all the works that have been, what have you understood about humans, and why in your book you call a multi-species journey of white sharks and caged humans?
Yeah. So to answer what you are asking about, what have I understood of humans, I'll actually quote someone else.
Yeah.
So I met this gentleman. Uh, Actually, I think I've written about this in the book. I don't know. So I met this gentleman who's a Canadian pilot. He was a fighter pilot when he was young, and then in his older age, he became a commercial pilot. So he was on the boat, and I did his interview, and such a nice man. I think I fell in love with him. But anyway, I asked him, so you fly to all the places on the planet. What is the thing that is same everywhere? And he said, Raj, when I come out of the cockpit in your country, the smiles are same everywhere. So we speak a lot about empathy nowadays, as in it's a tool to use to help people, and it's a tool to, especially in psychology, it's a tool to create a certain image and all those things. But I think empathy is the recognition that all of us human beings, beyond our flaws, suffer same loss, same grief, and all of us have the kindling of being loved. I think that's the way of looking at this entire discussion. And about conservation of sharks, conservation of marine environment. Dostoevsky's words come back to me when I was younger. I read this quote, which I didn't understand at that point, when Dostoevsky said that beauty will save the world. I didn't really understand what he meant. I thought it was an artsy, foo-foo. But I realized that in situations like shark conservation, where because of a negative image, a lot of destruction has happened, that image was not created due to lack of information or misinformation or disinformation. It was created because a negative emotional image was created. And to change that, we have to reframe that through love. Only through love and through beauty, making sharks beautiful, can we bring change and can we help conservation. That's what I think.
Beautiful. Amazing. And I think, though there is Steven Spielberg, who did a disservice to this species via Jaws, we also have people like James Cameron, who did amazingly well in The Way of the Water.
Yeah, I love it.
It was beautiful.
By the way, just so that we are on that note, both Peter Benchley, the writer of Jaws, and even Steven Spielberg, for the rest of their life, really felt guilty because of that book and that movie, because they knew what happened after.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's documented.
I'm glad that they accepted and embraced their guilt.
Peter Benchley spent the rest of his life conserving sharks.
Oh,
That
wow.
was he just took that up. He wrote many books about sharks after that. And even Steven Spielberg, in many interviews, he said, "I'm so sorry what I did." Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. This was brilliant, Dr. Raj. I hope, Dr.
Thank
Raj,
you.
I was able to do justice to the book. It's a very new subject for me, something which I have never, couldn't have picked up, but I'm lucky that I got this book and I got to speak with you.
I really, really appreciate this. At the end of the day, both you and I, want to do the best we can for our planet, for people around us, and even other animals. And I wish you the best of luck in your journey, and I wish us on our journey, trying to do a little bit we can for the world around us. We're all flawed, but we still try to do the best we can. Just move one step forward.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you, Dr. Raj.